Hey everybody, this is Marian Cowigowen.
And this is David Owen.
And this is You Show Me Yours, the podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and TV that they loved before the first date. Except for this time, first time ever, we're talking about a movie that neither of us had seen before this time. So I guess we can say we made ourselves watch Renfield.
Yes. As part of the Spooktacular. Yes, it is the Nicolas Cage tacular. The Nick just
the Dractacular. I'm still trying to make that happen.
Yep, you are. Unfortunately, just in the nick of time, we're here to watch Renfield.
Bum.
Renfield is, of course, the 2023 movie.
Are you surprised at what year it is?
I'm just surprised that we got a movie that was actually released the same year as the episode. I don't think that's ever happened.
Right. That's what. Yeah, the first time we're watching something that's new.
Yeah. It was directed by Chris McKay, who I wasn't really familiar with his work, but apparently he either was the sole director or one of the directors of the Lego Batman movie.
Ah, okay.
And he directed that straight to Prime Chris Pratt vehicle, like Tomorrow People or Tomorrow Attack Force Delta or something.
Don't know.
It was a forgettable action movie about time travel that starred Chris Pratt.
Okay.
That was straight to Prime. This is a horror comedy, and it is wacky and fun.
And it's fabulous.
Yes.
I would say it's not good, but it's still fabulous.
I mean, what is good, right? It's in this genre, I suppose. It exceeds, I think it would exceed your expectations if you went into it. Like, the premise is funny enough. Yes. Like, the original ads and stuff were like, focusing in on the Renfield in therapy, in a group therapy session, and Nick Cage hamming it up with his mouth full of sharp teeth.
It's a lot of teeth. That's 2 or 3 people's worth of teeth. Yeah, it has Fight Club vibes with the support groups.
Yeah.
And just sort of showing how ridiculous some support group language is.
Yeah.
Which, as a veteran of various therapy stints, I can appreciate, while saying that therapy is valuable for everybody, but still, sometimes out of context, it sounds silly.
Yeah, and Renfield he's going to therapy, not really for the benefits, though he's getting sort of secondary benefits.
Yeah.
He's going to find victims for Dracula, who in the opening is severely burned and charred and has been spending some time recovering and needs victims. So he sits in these therapy sessions and listens to these codependent people talk about their, quote unquote abusers, and goes and gets the people that are causing trouble for the support group.
Which is kind of amazing. I really love that.
Yeah, as a premise, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And feeds him to Dracula.
Yeah.
But Dracula is unsatisfied because of the low quality. Apparently he needs virgin blood, and
he needs good moral fiber.
Yeah. There's you haven't seen What We Do in the Shadows, the movie or the show.
No.
There's a great line in What We Do in the Shadows where they're asking about the virgin blood. And one of the vampires says, let me put it this way. If you were going to eat a sandwich,
Sorry, I'm laughing already.
It would taste a lot better if you knew someone hadn't fucked it first.
Oh, God, don't
careful.
Don't get me started.
Careful. She's going to start. But yeah, so he's asking for a busload of cheerleaders or some nuns, because he's bringing them all these lowlifes. Renfield is bringing Dracula.
And then there's this nice little aside about, no, it's not sexual.
I will eat a man, a woman.
You make it weird when you do that.
Yeah.
That's not the accent.
No, it's not. It's funny. Yeah, I don't think we're not gonna be able to get Vampire's Kiss for this, because it's only available on services that I'm trying not to sign up for 1,000 services. So it's not easy to get. And it's not easy to get without ads. Let me put it that way. And I just really feel like ads, they ruin the flow of a movie. They really take me out of it. And so we're going to skip Vampire's Kiss on this, but it feels like in this movie there is a little bit of an homage to Vampire's Kiss. I'll spoil Vampire's Kiss for you since we're not going to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
In Vampire's Kiss, Nicolas Cage thinks he has been made a vampire, but he hasn't really. And he starts to kind of act like a vampire, including wearing the cheap plastic Halloween teeth. And when he tries to talk through them, his voice is extremely weird and muffled, very similar to the way his Dracula speaks through the crazy prosthetic teeth in this movie.
There were several times when I was like, pause, what did he say?
And had subtitled it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was a direct homage by the filmmakers, but it felt that way as someone who watched that movie. But yeah, that movie is, it's peak Nicolas Cage. It is like, I want to say he's fresh off of like Moonstruck and Raising Arizona, and he just went all out in this crazy little vampire movie. And he hams it up in this movie pretty well. One of the things that I wrote down is Cage hamming it up. And I think that works really well for him and his style when he is a sort of a supporting actor. Versus the main character.
Because a little bit of that goes a long way.
Yeah. And Renfield is the main character, played by Nicholas Hoult, who is in a lot of stuff lately. Yeah.
Well, and I haven't seen these other movies that he's done, but they feel in the same vein. So he's in The Great on Hulu, which is sort of a historical comedy, I guess. Look at Catherine the Great of Russia. I think he's Nicholas there too. And that seems very like hamming it up and fast and loose with the facts and, sort of dark comedy stuff. And then he was also in a zombie movie called Warm Bodies, which is loosely based on Romeo and Juliet, which feels like that has that same tone too. And it's funny because you look at him and he looks like a very like a 2020s Hugh Grant. He's sort of floppy hair, got sort of what seems to me like a posh British accent, but then he does this kind of thing, which is, to my point of view, is very against type. So it's just sort of funny. So now he's on my radar as like, okay, that's going to be fun if he's in this.
Yeah, and I know him, and many people will know him most from playing Beast in the X-Men movies that are set in the past timeline. In the X-Men movie series, the character of Beast, who is this like intelligent sort of actually honestly Frasier-like sort of guy, is initially played by Kelsey Grammer in a very Frasier-like way.
Okay.
But at a certain point, the timeline of the movie shifts back to the 60s, and Nicholas Hoult plays a young Beast.
Okay.
And isn't using his British accent, but is using his sort of proper air about him to play Beast.
Doesn't seem like a big stretch to go from proper British to Frasier.
No. Yeah. Not at all. But I mean, overall, the cast is really strong in this movie, which is probably something that I should have written down. You've got Awkwafina playing sort of the secondary lead, sort of hanging out with Renfield. She has a sort of independent story when we start that's sort of just going on its own, and you get little bits and pieces of that,
And she's kind of, you get the feeling she could be a love interest, but it's not explicit, and I like that. I feel like we've had several movies here where there are rom-coms, and I said, I don't care about the romance, I care about this other story that's intended to be like the B plot. And I like that in this, like, if you choose to see it as they get together, great. If not, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Doesn't knock you over the head with anything.
Yeah. And it's not really like hinted at or really heavily or anything.
Yeah.
There's a mutual respect, sort of.
Yes.
Both of them, have for each other. So it works out nicely. And, she's not going like full on Awkwafina in this, which I think plays to the benefit of the character. she has a type when she does her comedy.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about her style, but there were parts where I was like, okay, I know who this is. And then she would like in the police station when she's F this and F that and fuck you, Kyle. And, poor Kyle, everyone says fuck you. Yeah. I was like, okay, I know who that is. But then that kind of dies down. So, which was nice.
This isn't like, it's not trying to be some sort of starring comedy. She's not exactly playing the straight man in this, like, but she is toned back a little bit.
Yeah. I got the impression, I think, because her last name is Quincy, and Aquafina is obviously Asian.
Yeah.
And I got the impression that this was not written for anyone in particular. They just found the best actress for the role, or the one who was available, or, you know, whatever. And it happened to be Aquafina. And then when they needed to show her father in a photo, because her father was killed several years ago, then they're like, okay, he's Asian because she is, and her sister, you know, which I always like when it's a character who's not white, who is not necessarily written as their ethnicity. They're just their own person.
Yeah, and I think it would be easy to to fall down that hole of Asian cop trope, kind of, not Asian cop trope, but like Asian cop, and then extend that sort of Asianness into the character, deep into the character.
Yeah, or like the gang is also Asian, or you know, whatever.
Yeah,
now I say this, and I don't. You could say I'm an Asian person, and then I hate that when that happens, and but
no, but I like it. When roles are not necessarily defined by the sort of unchangeable aspects of an actor. You know, sometimes an actor is going to be tall, sometimes they're going to be short, they're going to be Asian, they're going to be white, they're going to be Jewish, they're going to be Hindu, whatever, like, and, known to be those things. They, you don't have to make that a huge part of the character just because people know, hey, this person is this.
That's not thing. Like the central tent pole around which the whole rest of the character revolves.
Right. So. Right. Yeah. But as far as the cast, you also have Ben Schwartz,
which was fantastic.
There. Like John Ralphio himself.
We've been watching Parks and Rec with our teenager, and we've been telling him about John Ralphio, who's made one appearance but is not doing his full arc yet. And we have done imitations for him of the worst, and pretty much this kid is also the worst. Yes.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's a testament to his acting ability or if that's just who he is.
That's what I'm starting to suspect, is that's just, he's not acting at all ever.
Yeah. I don't think he is.
This is basically John Ralphio, the drug lord.
Yeah. Oh, totally. With like dumb tattoos and a stupid car. Yeah.
Yes.
And then his mom is played by an actress whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce. She's been in a lot of stuff recently. I think she was in the Expanse.
You would know her if you saw her. She's Iranian, I think, and beautiful, and has a very striking, deep smoker's voice.
Yeah. A very there's something in the back there. She's and I know her most for voicing the character Anna in the game Overwatch. But it's good casting, and what seems to be a younger director who's making waves. Lego Batman was hilarious. This is hilarious.
Is he any relation to Adam McKay?
I don't know, but that's what I thought at first.
Yeah.
So it could be. That's let us know if he's any relation. Because it wouldn't surprise me. I think I may have initially thought the Lego Batman movie was directed by Adam McKay, because this guy's last name is also McKay. Right. But I'm trying to think, like, anything specific you want to get into next? Anything on the boards?
So I think we said last time, this is much more enjoyable if you know anything about the Dracula cinematic universe. If you don't know who Renfield is, you're kind of coming in blind. Yeah. But after watching this, if you've seen the original, the 30s Dracula, you're going to love this so much more.
Oh, yeah.
And then when we were watching, the credits are scrolling by at the end, and a name jumped out at me. I was like, William Ragsdale. Who is that? I know that name. He was, what's the kid's name in Fright Night?
Oh, yeah. I'm ashamed. I have to turn in my 80s horror fan
I
card.
don't remember. Anyway,
he's the main character in Fright Night.
He's got a vampire background, and now he's playing this great Orthodox priest with the big beard and stuff who is trying to conduct an exorcism against Dracula 100 years ago.
It's just a great quick cameo. And I wouldn't be surprised if the other vampire hunter in that scene also is a cameo.
Yeah. So now I want what's one thing I miss about DVDs is when they had the bonus commentary track and you could point out stuff like that. Like, oh, this is played by so-and-so and this. And like streaming does not have that.
That stuff does still exist. You just have to get the DVD.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm lazy and I don't want to do that. And I imagine if you're really deep into the Dracula lore, there's a lot more callbacks somewhere. Well, you know what? Now that I think of it, so the drug lord family that we end up fighting against are the Lobos, wolves, vampires, werewolves.
Yes, werewolves.
Like I'm sure there's a lot of other nice things like that some of them are only just dawning on me.
Yeah. There's a lot of little things. Like I was just actually looking quickly through the IMDb trivia just to see if there was anything about the other vampire hunter, and I did see that the last name Quincy is a reference to the character Quincy, who was in some of the versions.
Is it the Texan?
Yes, some of the versions of the Dracula movies that we watched for the Dractacular.
Interesting. Yes, so okay.
And Quincy, if I'm remembering correctly, like Quincy in Bram Stoker lore is the person who makes like the kill shot on Dracula, because as we all remember, Dracula in the book just dies from like a gunshot or a knife wound, whatever. But he makes he's the one who gives the killing blow. Okay. So that's the reason the last name is Quincy.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, and I'm looking if there's any. Yeah, it's two.
It's interesting that this is set in New Orleans, which I kind of feel like they could have done a little more with that, because New Orleans is famous for lots of paranormal legends. But it's just that's where we got a good deal on filming. So I feel like they could have done a lot more with that. But then they do name check a lot of the places. They meet at Cafe du Monde, which is this well-known place for beignets. And at some point there, which I think actually it's where the cafe is, there's this big cathedral that's across in the background. And Dracula's lair is the old charity hospital, which was destroyed during Katrina, which is really kind of depressing when you realize that part of it. So they name check a lot of New Orleans and probably do very well as far as the locations. But I thought if you're going to have a movie about vampires and it's set in New Orleans, you could do a little more with the scenery, but too bad.
Yeah. This movie has a lot of like weird little things in it. Like they just beat up on ska for a little bit in the early part of the movie, which is great.
It was good. Yeah. One of the Yeah. So Renfield is at the support group for codependent people who are with like abusers / assholes. And this woman at the beginning is talking all about the things that her boyfriend, whatever, has done. And she's like, and this little thing, but he's really, really into ska. And everyone else in the group is like, oh my God, I hate that stuff.
Yeah. Is that the one with like
90%
like
horns?
Yeah.
Which reminded me of a joke that I'm sure I've told you, Dave, but it's never not funny. Ska is what you imagine is going on in a 13-year-old boy's head when he learns that he gets unlimited mozzarella sticks. Yeah. Which is like, not our kid because he doesn't like mozzarella, but my head. Yeah.
It's what goes on in our kid's head when he finds out he can stay up past his bedtime.
Or have unlimited tortilla chips or whatever. Something like that. Yeah.
And it is funny because she names over some ska bands, and the only one I remember her saying is Mustard Plug, and I remember thinking, I like Mustard Plug.
Is that a real band?
Yes.
Oh God, that's terrible.
I like Mustard Plug. Like,
all the ska bands had such stupid names.
Yeah, well, that third wave ska, like the 90s ska, it was just a bunch of like SoCal punk bands that were really influenced, like punk kids that were really influenced by the British ska stuff. And in fact, the lyrics on the outside of the building where the ska guys are hiding out are from a Specials song.
Okay.
And Specials are like one of the those are the guys that you think of when you think of like ska, and you think of like black fedoras and
Pork pies.
Suits with pork pies and suits with skinny black ties. Like that's the Specials and Operation Ivy and those kind of bands from that sort of late 80s kind of stuff. Yeah,
ska is that was a special time. Ska was really big when I was in college, and there was someone called Skank and Pickle.
Yep, Skank and Pickle. 88 Fingers Louie.
What is with these names? I mean, most band names are dumb when you think about it, but yeah, the riffing on ska was a nice little interlude. Strange, but made me giggle. I giggled so much through this whole movie.
The most unforgivable thing ska ever did to us is give us Gwen Stefani. So, even I hate it for that. Funny. This movie is funny. That's just one of the things I wrote up there. Like it has a lot of little quick jokes, little things. Yeah. Just like it develops its own little shticks, the kind of stuff that you would expect from like a series. Yeah. There's a character named Kyle, and he is like constantly piled upon, right? And everybody hates this character Kyle.
And after a while, he's like, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It just creates all these quick little jokes and little bits, and does them well. And yeah, it's just top to bottom. It was the Walking Dead guy was Robert Kirkman.
I don't know.
The guy that did him. He did a show you like.
Did I? Did he?
Didn't he?
I don't know.
You don't know?
These are the kind of things you look up beforehand, David.
We were in a hurry, okay?
Where is our producer? Oh, we don't have one. Right. That's why.
We don't rate a producer. Let's see. Robert Kirkman, Walking Dead, Renfield, Walking Dead, Talking Walking Dead, Young Rick. Oh, God, he's just too much stuff.
So, yeah. So far, nada.
Hang on. I know there's something in here that you know of his.
Mad Men, Boardwalk Empire, Friday Night Lights.
Hang on, just stop naming
West
random
Wing.
things that you like.
I'm trying to help you out. The Big C. Girls. Yellow Jackets. The Wilds. Which was canceled, and that's criminal.
Is it?
It is. It was so good. And I'll never find out what happened on the island.
Apparently not. Okay, anyway, I don't know. Maybe not. But yeah, he's the Walking Dead guy.
Thanks for that. You got my hopes up.
And he did Invincible, which is a more recent thing. But yeah, sorry. He apparently didn't produce
Invincible?
anything.
Hang on.
It's a
Do I know
superhero cartoon.
Okay, no, I definitely don't know that. No.
TV series.
Okay.
That is adult in origin.
Okay.
Not like Bow Chicka Wow Wow adult. Just like people's heads explode.
We need to come up with a new term that means for grown-ups, not for kids, but isn't like adult, because at the library that I go to, there's a section where they have DVDs that you can borrow, and one section is labeled children's DVDs and the other one is adult DVDs. And I always have a second where I'm like, oh my God, can I go in there? Am I old enough? Isn't there supposed to be a curtain or a velvet rope thing? And then I'm like, oh no, they just mean like Saving Private Ryan.
It's saloon doors, Marion. Come on. As someone who
I wouldn't know.
As someone who worked in a video store, it's saloon doors. So it's not always saloon doors. One of the places I worked, so I worked at a chain of video stores in the late 90s, a local chain. We had 3 stores. One of the stores I worked at, it was just a door, a regular old door. One of them, it was saloon doors, and the other one, it was like a hippie's beaded curtain
for maximum noise when you go through.
Yes.
So everyone can tell.
But my favorite thing about that one is the owner of this video store chain was Indian. And what he had done, he was a businessman like through and through. On multiple occasions, he split up his store like square footage to put a second business in. Okay. And what he had done in this one particular video store was kind of slow. It wasn't getting a lot of business. So he cut the store in half and he put an Indian restaurant in the other half.
Okay.
And the adult section was basically backed up right against the kitchen. So it just smelled like curry in the adult section.
That would tend to dull your libido, I think.
It was really weird. Yeah. And people would complain about it all the time.
You'd be like, I'm not horny anymore. I'm just hungry.
Yeah. And it turned out that like the ventilation systems were still like somehow interconnected in that area. So that was why it just constantly reeked of curry.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
Or does the curry cover up the smell of what I imagine eventually accumulates in an adult video section?
What do you think happens in a video store rental adult section? You think people are whacking off?
I imagine sometimes.
Nobody's whacking off.
I mean, they're not whacking off.
Yes, they are not. Yes, they are not whacking
There's a
off.
non-zero chance that it happens.
There's a 0 chance.
Okay, well, I don't know.
Well, I'm going to tell you, there's a 0 chance that it ever happened on my watch because we had a camera that showed everything that went on in that room from multiple angles.
Okay.
So there was no angle from which someone could find a sort of means to do that. There were no blind corners.
Okay.
So does it happen in some lesser establishments?
That's what I'm saying. Not the high quality.
Not in the video club. Thank you. Not in the adult section that shares a wall with the kitchen of an Indian restaurant.
Okay. I know nothing about adult video stores.
Well, you just learned a lot.
My mind is as pure as the driven snow. Dracula would love it. So I don't know, but what I've heard is, I would imagine, aren't there booths or something?
You're talking about an adult video store. I'm talking about a video store that sells adult stuff.
Okay.
A regular family video store, and beyond the saloon doors is
non-family stuff.
Okay. Right. As you were talking about the library having an adult section.
Right. But that's not adult. That's what I'm saying. That's like for grown-ups.
The regular family video store that I worked in had an adult section. And we also sold
adult with a capital A. Okay.
Yes, and we also sold and repaired pagers.
Unrelated to the adult videos.
Sometimes related. I mean, sometimes people who got adult videos would also want their pager repaired.
Okay.
And we did a pretty high volume of like 1999's version of a burner phone, these AT&T phones that ran off of, they were cell phones, but they ran off of phone cards. So basically like you got the phone and it already had a number on it, and you didn't have to register anything. You just had to literally put a phone card into the physical phone.
Oh, yeah. They're always using those in action movies when some guy needs a new burner and he just goes into the bodega and,
Yes. We sold a lot of those. Like I sold probably 2 or 3 of those a day.
Interesting.
To people who were also renting adult movies.
Okay.
It's a certain type that needs a pager repaired, a burner phone, and a 6-hour compilation.
Don't. Dude, was it worth it to get a pager repaired?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. How else would you get your pages?
But I mean, I never had one, so I just assumed that when it broke, you threw it away.
No, like nobody just threw stuff away in the 90s.
That's true. Like, those were better times.
Like every couple of years, people throw away $1,000 iPhone.
Yeah.
And like, granted, the structure of phone contracts and stuff, you're not necessarily paying $1,000 outright for your phone, but like those pagers weren't cheap.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like you didn't repair it, just like the same way that people got like their stoves and refrigerators and washing machines repaired in the 90s.
Refrigerators.
People got their pagers repaired. People got their car stereos repaired in the 90s.
Better times.
People took their Walkmans in to get them repaired.
That's true. Those are my people.
Yeah.
Anyway.
There's Renfield.
This has been your moment of nostalgia of our lives, I guess. I don't know. Yep. But back to Renfield.
Yeah, but so the intro, like you were saying, it is a just shot for shot homage to the 1931 Dracula. They do the scene on the stairs where he greets Renfield. They do I never drink wine. Yeah. They do Renfield at the bottom of the stairs and the iconic shot looking up crazy eyed. Yeah. They do they do the whole thing. Yeah. And it's great.
These are like flashbacks basically.
Yeah. It's Renfield setting the scene. And, so it's like this movie is effectively a quasi sequel to the 1931 Dracula. Yeah, it's super well done. The recreation of all the stuff. I mean, I think obviously they didn't rebuild sets or anything. It's just some really well done visual effects stuff. And Nicholas Hoult does a great job of looking like Renfield from the original movies and the whole deal. And they do expand on Renfield's bug eating obsession. It actually fuels his familiar powers. So it gives him sort of superhuman type powers when he eats bugs. So he always just needs a bug around.
Yeah.
Which, in the other Draculas, it's more just sort of he needs life force to live, but he's relegated to just eating the lowest sort of life.
Yeah, and this seems a little different. I don't think we ever saw him eating anything else.
Food-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So that's
presumably Renfield exists in a state between like life and death.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think he needs to eat much like Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things this movie does really effectively, that it does play for laughs in a really smart way. You haven't seen these movies, but it's sort of an Evil Dead-esque thing where it just goes completely over the top with the gore.
Yeah.
To the point where it becomes funny.
Little bit.
And not like unintentionally funny, like purposely funny. Like, for him to pull somebody's arms off and then use them like nunchucks to fight people. And then, then to toss one across a courtyard and impale someone. Yeah, with an arm that he pulled off of another person.
I'm going to start again. You guys, I swear I laughed for like 10 minutes.
Yes.
And you've heard me laughing in our past episodes. And that doesn't mean I giggled for 10 minutes. That means I full on, we had to stop.
No, stick around till the end of the episode after the ending theme if you want to hear a short example of the laughter that she was engaging in.
I don't think you should, because it gets really guttural, and when I laugh too much, I start coughing, and it's going to be great. Good. And,
you want to hear it. If you fast forward to it right now.
It's like having me in your living room, for better or for worse.
Wonderful.
But if you want to laugh like that, watch this, because it's pretty great.
Yes. But yeah, the over the top gore, and it's it's all obviously CGI blood. I mean, there is real blood, real fake blood. But it's all, over the top gore, CGI stuff, but done in a way to it's winking at you that it knows that this is cheesy.
Yeah.
And it's cheesy on purpose, and you can laugh at it because it's cheesy, you can laugh with it because it's cheesy, not laugh at it because it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really smart. The little touches that they go through with that kind of stuff. He's going to tear a guy in half. He's going to stomp on someone's head. Or when the final showdown happens with Teddy Lobo, he kicks him and all of the bones in his body break.
Yeah.
And
then the guts fly out.
Everything, all of his insides fly out of his mouth, and he projectile shits. And they show his colon.
It's like an X-ray.
It's like an X-ray. It's like if you've played Mortal Kombat, it's like an X-ray, the new Mortal Kombat. He does like an X-ray from Mortal Kombat 11. And it's all done with this wink that we know it's crazy.
Well, and the final showdown with Teddy, who in the credits, his name, so Teddy is usually Theodore or Edward. In the credits, he's listed as Tedward, which is just more of an imbecile. His whole family is just morons. Yeah. The reason that the showdown with him is such a big deal is that he has also been turned by Dracula, and so he also can, eat bugs.
He's a familiar as well.
Yes, and the way that this is explained to us is he's just standing there and they're having a face off, and he kind of puts his hand up to his mouth, and then a bug crawls out of his sleeve and he snorts it.
Yeah.
It's just so delightfully disgusting.
And the Lobos do cocaine is their drug of choice that they deal in this crime world. Yeah. And he has a cheesy line about, does this look familiar? Yeah. Right as he snorts the bug.
He'd been holding on to that for a good 30 minutes. Yeah, he was like, totally. I'm going to stop him in his tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's the whole thing. Within the story of the movie. Yeah, Dracula decides to take over the world because Renfield kind of talks to him a little bit about how he's kind of saying things to Dracula that he actually means about himself. Like he's saying you deserve more and you deserve a better life and all these things. And, he's kind of saying those things about himself, but he's saying them to Dracula
these are
about
lines
Dracula.
that he's been told by the people on the support group.
Yeah, he's been hearing at the support group. And the next day, Dracula's like, I thought about what you said, and you were right. I deserve more. Like,
I have a new plan.
Yeah, I've been hiding all these years and just, getting by on scraps. Like, I should be in charge. And so he has this whole thing he's made for world domination, like a big poster board and stuff. And ultimately, when Renfield betrays him, Renfield has this epiphany that if he just stops feeding Dracula, Dracula can't get to power, and he can't get back to full power because he's been nursing him back to health, and therefore he can't take over the world. So he stops feeding him, and he goes off on his own, and he rents an apartment, then paints it pastel colors, and
that's like a day glow. That's
colors,
hurt your eyes,
and gets pastel sweaters. And is like reinventing himself, and then Tedward and his goons, thinking that they're tracking down Renfield, who has been causing them some trouble, their drug gang some trouble, happen onto Dracula and sort of unintentionally give him a boost,
the fuel,
to get back, and then Dracula is like, "Oh, you guys are a gang. Like, maybe will you be my soldiers? Cooperate with me." So, yes, the werewolves are kind of cooperating with the
Teddy's so stupid, and he's a little bit under his mother's thumb. His mother is like the head of the crime family.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think he sees this as like, oh, if I work with Dracula, then I can be powerful too.
Yes.
And Dracula's like, yes, that's totally my plan.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Teddy is so not ready to take over the mantle of the Lobo drug cartel.
Is not ready to take over a Subway franchise. No, this kid is, and his mother knows this too. His mother knows he's useless. So it would be an interesting scene that we didn't see, is like a negotiation between the mother and Dracula, because I feel like she could give as good as she got, but she goes to jail at the end. So
yes,
and will probably make someone in prison her bitch right fast.
Yes, of course.
Anyway,
I mean, there's not a whole lot more to say, I don't think, about this movie. I mean, it's funny. I would recommend it. How about you? It's
a lot of fun. I think the plot gets sillier as it goes on.
Yeah.
So don't think about it too much. But from the beginning, it's very funny, and lots of call outs to old Dracula properties.
Yeah. And it's respectful of the source material.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not too much retconning, really. Although I don't think we knew that in this one, Renfield had a family that he deserted, and I don't think we knew that before, but that doesn't go against anything that we were told.
They just do fun little things like, oh, Dracula's blood can heal people. I don't know if that's, canon from the 1931 movie or any of that sort of era.
Well, so at the end, so Dracula comes to the support group and kills everybody.
Yes.
And very violently. And the police think that Renfield did it, which is what he's on the run and, blah, 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 which is why he has to fight off all these people in the courtyard and stuff. And then at the end, Renfield takes Dracula's blood. They have him imprisoned in what's it called? A power circle? Protection circle.
Protection circle, yeah.
Made of the Lobo's cocaine, which was
which is good.
Chef's kiss. That was nice. And they chop him up and they mix him with concrete and they put him, whatever. But I guess they drain his blood first and then they give that to all these people. And I was like, in some vampire property, drinking Dracula's blood makes you a vampire. Hang on. How does this work? But some of these things we've hand waved, I think, to where don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah. It depends. Yeah. It depends on the property. And, I don't think within the sort of pantheon of universal Dracula, which is is where this is set. I think Dracula makes you a vampire by sucking your blood and letting you live. And I don't think his.
So you're in that undead
involved.
Place. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like with the brides and stuff. Funny movie.
This is definitely worth watching. I would say it's streaming on Peacock right now, which is where we saw it. It's okay to watch it streaming. You don't need to see this in the. It's not. Is it in the theater?
No,
I don't even know.
Not anymore. No, it's been out of the theater for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but it's it's worth your time, and it's not like super scary. I mean, it is rated R, it's super gross,
It's bloody,
and
I don't
is
think
like
it's really
animated violence.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it scary. Like I wouldn't show it to your 4-year-old.
No, I wouldn't show it to you. But yeah, I think that's got our recommendation. And, it's a bit of a lighter episode, but this is a weird format for us because usually somebody has something they want to say about a movie, and that takes, 10 or 15 minutes of the episode.
And usually we have sort of a deep dive with background information or, a social justice angle, and we have none of that this time. So
no, codependent people, or I don't know. I can't even formulate.
I don't know. I will take a stand though and tell you that despite what you see in this, support groups can be helpful and therapy is great. So go to therapy.
And I like the support group. It's not like they're not really clowning on it in the movie. Like they are clowning on it, but they're not like saying that it's useless overtly. I think
it would be very easy to interpret it that way.
Yes.
But honestly, like most support groups, any kind of therapy, if you look at it from the outside, you're like, my God, leave him already. What is your problem? But it's way more complicated than that. So everything looks...
It's one of those things where a lot of times a movie will make fun of something and then through the events of the movie itself actually show you that like, well, no, like it actually did work because everything that's said in the support group is what gives Renfield the courage to make his initial break. Yeah. And even if the initial break was not, you can't use a self-help book to get away from Dracula, it still gave him the courage to start the process. Yeah. And then he had to find the right path to get away from Dracula. So, it's like they're kind of winking and nodding and saying like, hey, look how ridiculous some of this stuff is. But like, also it really actually kind of helps the main character kick off the plot of the movie.
Well, and what's nice about this is that he goes back to the support group at the end and they've been reanimated and they don't really know. Well, no, they do know that they died in there because they're like, you gave us a chance to see things that we can never unsee. So thanks for that. That's great. But he's back there. And so you kind of feel like, their value is more than just this catalyst for change. Whereas in Fight Club, he just sort of stops going. And that is definitely,
he is in Fight Club. He is a voyeur. Like he is a peeping Tom into this world of pain. I mean, it's very explicit in Fight Club. That he's this sort of grief tourist. And this is Renfield is not only there as maybe initially he's there as a grief tourist or something akin to that. But by the time we pick him up, and I think he's already starting to get some of the messages. Some of the messages starting to get through. Yeah,
he went back to that particular group because it was valuable. Exactly. So yay therapy.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
But folks, we would love to know what you think about this. If you've seen it, it's been out 6 months, something like that. So if
it's a Halloween watch, you got it.
And if you want to drag us for our opinions on therapy, or I don't know, what else did we say? Multi-ethnic casting, whatever. You can do that too. We'd love to hear from you for all those things. You can reach us in a couple different ways. You can send us an email. You can find us on Facebook or Twitter. Our handle is the same for all three. It's YSMY Podcast, YSMY for You Show Me Yours, or at gmail.com. Also on Facebook and Twitter, you can find links to our latest episodes. Typically, we have new episodes every other Wednesday. In the month of October, we have episodes every week where we are doing, like I said, we don't have a funny name for this month, but Spooktacular horror movies in October. And so a week from today, we have a new one. And what are we watching next time, Dave?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
No, I think the tentative
plan, in our nihilist phase.
The tentative plan is Color Out of Space.
Okay.
Which is a Lovecraft adaptation starring Nick Cage.
Yes.
But I'm just kind of prodding around, poking around, looking at some other stuff that might be more interesting. I think that movie has a little more in common with Mandy than you might like.
Ooh, yeah, no, thank you.
And so
I still haven't forgiven him for that, you guys.
But yeah, it's going to be Color Out of Space or something else.
Okay,
last minute replacement.
Chef's choice next week.
Yes.
All right. Well, we will see then with whatever it is we come up with. Until then, this has been You Show Me Yours. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.